Welcome. My name is Moonlight Mystic, and I am a creative intuitive, and my specialty is the emotional underworld and the reading of the energy. So the evolution of soul consciousness, the shadow work, because shadow work is required for the evolution of soul energy and the soul transmission. Anyway, today we are talking about the projection of fear and fear as an energy. So I'm just going to do this video without notes. I'm just going to go with flow, the energy of flow, and to just allow for the download to come through. So let's talk about the person, person that projects. People who project are oftentimes in a frantic, chaotic energy within their emotional underworld. They have no awareness or ability to manage the rise and fall of emotion. They have not learned that skill. And the person that projects, it's not about what is being said, the communication and the passing on of information. It is about the energetic charge that is attached to what is being communicated and what is being the whole package of what is being passed on. We as human beings are living a life where we are coming into contact with energetic transaction all the time. That is the world that we live in. When we are coming into contact with somebody that is in a state of panic or is in a state of fear, let's say, we need to address some things about that state of being. Okay. First of all, when you are referring to panic is first of all an imbalanced state. Okay, it is an imbalance within the emotional underworld because it is being driven by its close relative fear. Fear is the driver, and panic is the emotion, that energy motion that erupts. It is panic is the agitation of the emotional underworld. Okay, it is the agitation, the irritation, because that panic, that energy charge is being fueled. Let's say if we're talking about a train, and a train of thought, that engine is being fueled by a consciousness, okay, and a belief system. And what is that? Well, we uncover that. Okay, we are going deep into the emotional underworld, and we are finding out what is the belief. When we are interacting with the person that projects, they are unable to they believe that the only way that they are able to cause the energy motion within them to subside, to fall, or to resolve itself. The only way that they, through their lens, the only way that they perceive that that could possibly happen is if they are able to somehow control people or things that are happening outside of them, because they believe that the control over the other or over the situation is what will cause the irritation that is happening within the emotional to subside. That is the belief. Okay. And so when a person who projects does not receive that reflection back of fear, of panic, and of of this need to be in control, then then they feel vulnerable. They feel vulnerable, and so it is a process that they go through whereby they are attempting to draw the other into the field and the charge of their own heart energy in order to act and respond in a way that that is in accordance to their belief, which is I must control what is happening outside of me in order to alleviate the emotional disruptions of what is happening inside of me. Okay. The problem with this is that, and I will say it again and again, control is an illusion. You cannot control everything. The better position is to understand the balanced state, the state of being centered, the state of being calm, the state of being able to communicate clearly, to be sensible, to be responsible, to be passing on information that does not have attached to it an energetic charge. Because when you do that, when the person that projects does that, it is then difficult for the other person to receive what is being said. Okay, why? Because, here we go. You will understand that the person who is in charge is the one who has the charge over the energy. Okay, I'm going to say that again. The person that is in charge is the person who has the charge, the energetic charge of energy. Okay. And when we are looking through a lens of perception or perspective that says, I must be in charge of that other person's emotional temperature or barometer and consciousness, it is my job to be in charge and to release that charge of energy. Why? So they will experience what I am experiencing within my emotional underworld, and they will act accordingly. You know? They will submit to the charge and allow themselves to be controlled, not by the neutral information, but by the charge. Okay. So this sheds light on what it means to be in charge. Okay. Now, there needs to be navigational space, navigational room for people to respond to information and communication that is part of that needs to be part of their awareness, let's say. Okay. The navigational space is the place in which we can find the center and the balanced state. Why? Because when panic or fear, let's say, that's driving panic, it is the emotional charge by which one is communicating, let's say. That agitation within the soul energy is looking and searching for a sense of peace. Okay, the missing piece, the puzzle piece. Okay, and looking for peace within the heart. You know? They are not able to access that peace because when you are in a panicked state, you are in fear of the thing that you fear happening. That is what's driving the consciousness, okay? And you are in resistance to that fear of what you perceive could happen. You are in fear of it. That is making you panicked. So you want to control everything so that it doesn't happen, doesn't happen. And this panicked state causes us to narrow the lens. So we are only perceiving through that charge of fear and panic and that belief that everything needs to be under control. And in order for it to be in control, it needs to receive this energetic transmission, which I call a projection, because it's projecting the energy onto the other. Okay, instead of dealing with the emotional underworld that belongs to the individual. Okay, panic is what blocks out everything else that is all the other aspects of reality and awareness, and just focuses on the one aspect of preventing that thing from happening. But it is already happening within the emotional underworld. It has the charge and it has the consciousness of the emotional underworld. And this is not a good position to be in when fear is driving and panic is is the outward expression. Okay. We are designed within this system. We will not have control over anything outside of ourselves until we have control within ourselves. Okay. To act from that imbalance of fear and panic is to act from a place of chaos, of not having control. So the person that projects is the person that believes that they don't have any control. Okay? They don't have any control. How do we manage the projected realities of the underworld? Because we are saying things on the surface to one another. We are passing on information. We are communicating. We are interacting and having interactions with one another. When we are able to see, and that is to look at the driving motions of the emotional underworld and what is actually happening within that other individual, we can go, okay, that's fine. Okay. I do not have to take on that energetic charge, because why? Because I am in charge. I am in charge of that, of my system and of my emotional underworld. Okay. And so the problem is that when people are panicked and people are in fear, they almost treat that as an entitlement to act or make decisions that are not necessary or that remove the personal power from the other person. Okay. They go, okay, well, this is how, they're not saying this, but this is the emotional underworld that I'm experiencing. And this is the way I'm perceiving things. Therefore, feel this charge and get an order. That's what they are saying. Be under the control of this charge like I am. And panic and fret and become agitated and all these things. Okay. Because why is that? Is that going to cause us to be able to take control of the situation? No. It is a counterintuitive energy and consciousness. Fear is a counterintuitive consciousness. And it's a counterintuitive charge. Okay? And so when we think about, wow, who is in charge here? Who is in charge? Well, for many centuries, the charge has come from the world religion of control. The consciousness has come from the world religion of control. Okay. And we have been hitting a wall, hitting our heads against the wall, and being sucked in to this vacuum, this charge of energy, and we see it reflected back through interactions that we have with other human beings. and we feel it reflected back through systems that enforce the religion, and we are no longer under the religion, because we are under grace. And what is grace? Grace is a heart energy that allows for these movements. We can accept them, but we don't come into agreement with them. We say, thank you for the information and thank you for the communication, but I am in charge. I am in charge of my consciousness, and I am in charge of my energy. We find the true reflection. We find the soul tribe, the soul people. We find the people that have been willing to do the soul work, to do the shadow work, to do the work of the evolution of one's own soul. And yes, it makes one spiritual, but it makes, that is spirituality. It is the reality of our spirit, and that we can receive signals, and we can receive communication and things that come up from our emotional underworld. We don't have to mismanage them. We don't have to pretend or put on masks, or that say, oh well, I am not coping, I'm falling apart inside, but I am appearing as if I have it all together. And we do this to ourselves. It is an injustice to your own soul. When we can begin to move into alignment and connection to the transmission of our heart energy, and it's coming from a place of centeredness and a place of balance and a place of calm and a place of being able to respond to whatever is going on, whatever it is. Fear and panic make us weak. They are an interference. Okay, they are interfering with the consciousness that is here within the control center, and when we are in that charge of panic and fear, we are experiencing the interferences that interfere with our ability to be alert, aware, centered, connected, all those things. Okay. And we think about, what is the virus? What is it really? Where did it come from? How does it manifest itself? It's the virus is very much like shadow work. It is the shadow that plays tricks on itself. And when we begin to release and come out of shadows, we are coming into a new world. A lot of this world has been created not by the government, but by the emotional underworld and the consciousness of man, of humanity. And we search for our power high and low. We search for the sense of control, and yet, self-control is a spiritual principle. It is a principle by which we govern our own spirit and our own transmission and our own process of information and communication and interaction with other people. When we are interacting with the person who judges, who makes judgments, what is happening? Well, there is a blindness. Whoever they are, or if we are judging, there is something we don't want to see. We want to see in the other the very thing that we deny within ourselves. We see that. We say, oh, no, I'm perfect. Oh, no, that's not me. And and we are not seeing the other. We are not seeing ourselves in them, because we all experience fear, and we need to understand its energy. We need to understand how it directs us. Is it directing us, or is it causing us to remain stationary, to this sort of flight, freeze mechanisms that we fall into, because we are allowing that light to fall. The light falls and it rises, and it falls and it rises, and we need, as a light worker, we need the navigational space to interpret the energies that are coming through. We need the navigational space to deal with any interferences, because we live in a world of shadow. We will not look upon this world the same way in 5 or so years time. We will not look upon this world through the same eyes, because we are moving out of the old religion, and we are moving into spirituality. Okay, and spirituality is it is thine eyes being opened up. I once was blind, but now I see. I see with my heart. I see with my consciousness. I see with my intuition. I see what is happening in terms of the charge, what is happening in terms of the person's energy. Okay, how are they directing that energy? How are they perceiving me through their own energy charge? Is there a judgment coming through? Am I judging that other person because I am triggered? Is there something that has triggered within me that has caused me to be charged by an imbalanced emotion, and therefore an imbalanced perspective? Because the two are connected. If we are in an imbalanced emotion, then it stands to reason that there is an imbalanced perspective. We are not able to see this, we are like this. Yeah, like this. You can't really see what's going on. But when we have the balanced perspective, we can see and become aware of the other aspects of reality. We can begin to see the whole picture. We can begin to interpret, and we can begin to recognize what we no longer, we don't need that. We don't need that. I need this, and I need that, and I need that. Okay. But I don't need the charge. I don't need the consciousness of that energy to be in charge of me. Okay. So when we realize that this whole metaphor, or this concept of who is in charge, who is in charge? Well, oftentimes it is those persons that project their own imbalanced charge. Okay. And that sets off emotion within the other to then also be triggered into an imbalanced charge of energy and what have you. That can only happen if the shadow is there. You see? It can only happen if the shadow is there. So when we are triggered, then we are on the road of discovery of the shadow that exists within our own emotional underworld, the consciousness and the energy of that, of how we are responding to the projection. Okay. What is the dialogue? What is the what lens are we looking through? What filter are we looking through? Are we filtering it? Are we just taking it as a neutral thing, or are we providing filters? Are we providing charges of energy to something that we all get triggered. We all have shadow aspect, and often the only way that we get free from these things is to not is to judge the other person, instead of looking inside of ourselves and going, okay, is this an energy I want to hold on to? Is this a consciousness I want to hold on to? Because the shadow is always working to bring us more light, but we need to, as the light, be aware of the shadow. Without awareness, we are in the dark. We are reacting, and we are in the shadow. Simple as that. When we have the awareness, and I think that's the thing, is that when we communicate and we interact with one another at a heart level, we need to be able to distinguish what is judgment, which is to make a good decision, and what is awareness. Okay. Judgment, in its balanced form, means to make a good decision, to make a good call. we can't do that if we don't have awareness. Okay. You need full awareness. You need full awareness of the perspective of the other person, and they need full awareness of your perspective. Um, and it's not about who's in charge. It's about who um, amongst us has the ability to become one. When the two perspectives become one, um, there is connection, there is heart connection, there is movement, there is collaboration, there is going forward towards the um, that the perspective is shared, so you are equally together alongside one, moving forward towards the goal. Okay, when we are like this and we are triggering one another, and um, there's the pull and the tug of the soul that begins to happen. um, we are not, humanity is not meant to interact like this. Okay, we are not bumper cars. Okay, get out of my way, because we're triggered in an emotion, and we just you know drive, and that person, if they're in my way, well, it's your fault. You see these dynamics on the road. You see them on the road. Yeah. I was driving today, and there was a truck just like stationary, and wasn't moving, but it was on the road. And I thought, I don't know what they're doing. They might decide to pull off at any minute, or I don't know. So I'll just do a little toot, toot, just so they know that I'm behind them, and and so I can be aware of what what they're doing, so that I know what I'm doing. Okay, that's fair enough. And when I saw him in the side rear vision mirror, and I don't know what you're doing. Are you moving? Are you going? What's happening? And then so he was like, and then he pulled over to the side. He was on his iPad in the middle of the road. I mean, it's a quiet town that I live in, and it's nice. It's really nice. But I didn't know what his movement was. And when I drove past, I smiled. Thank you. Oh, okay. Yep, that's what's happening. Okay, thank you. All good. Just checking in. And and he was triggered. I don't know what he was saying. And it's like, what is this? What is this interaction? What is this energy that we live in now, that we project onto each other? Where is that all coming from? Okay. It's got, if it was neutral, and he was like, oh, I should have pulled over. I am a bit on the road, and I'm busy doing something. I didn't realize that I could have pulled over a bit more, or put my hazard lights on or something, whatever. Obviously just decided to stop there, and that's fine. I mean, it doesn't bother me, as long as I know I have awareness about what's happening. Should I wait behind you? Should I pull out? What should I do? And the thing is that it becomes really difficult, because oftentimes when we're trying to engage in a transaction of neutral energy and information and communication, so that we may become more aware. We don't get to do that because of the um, the the form of um, perspective that the other person is giving to what you say or what you do. The thing is, it's like if you are dealing with something that is erupting out of another person's emotional underworld, it is erupting out of that world because they do not um, sense that charge of self-control. Okay, they don't have self-control. They are triggered, and why are they triggered? I have no idea. I have no idea why they are triggered. They don't like being triggered at or whatever it is. But at some point, people, we have to get past the energy of fear, of judgment, okay, of resistances to things. We are resisting the energy emotions that are happening within the emotional underworld. We are resisting them. We don't want to face them. So we don't um, accept that we are panicked or fearful or whatever. We, instead of managing what is rising and falling there, you know, we seek to pin it on things that are outside of ourselves. Okay, and that is the illusion, and that is where the need to control comes from. Because at the heart of us all, we are creators, we are transmitters, we are energy, we are consciousness, and we are at a deep soul level wanting to create and manifest a world around us that makes sense, that feels safe, that feels connected. And so because that is our intuitive desire, our deep desire to do that, when we are presented with projected realities of shadow, or when we are presented with things that happen that we think, that happened and I really didn't want that to happen, I wanted this to happen, and so we are there is an inner frustration and inner agitation that is actually coming from the part of us that seeks to have control from within, but we have not been conditioned to perceive through that lens. We have been conditioned to perceive through the old world religion of control. And that is to have control over everything and everyone, and to be in charge, and we take that perspective of life hook, line, and sinker. We think that this life is about, are you in control of your life? Are you getting the things that you want? When you have an imbalanced consciousness that says, there's not enough to go around, we have to scrap it out just to get anything. That people are competing with you all the time and all this sort of stuff, and and that is a form of humanity that has fallen under the shadows. That is a form of humanity that has fallen under the shadow. That means that there is within us there is something that is blocking our light, okay? Because the shadow is only ever cast when there is a blockage of light, okay? The shadow itself cannot cast light, but the light can cast shadow, okay? We need to realize that as the light, we are the ones that can block ourselves and cast shadow, okay? Um, because what is shadow? It is a thought form. Shadow is a thought form that is imbalanced because it doesn't have the foundational principle to build upon. The foundational principles, spiritual principles of conscious living are what allow for the spirit to regain its center and to find its own internal compass. That is why we are moving into spirituality. We are moving into the movement of spirit. And so this is why there's so many shifts and changes. Are these shifts and changes happening on the external front? Yes, they are. Let's say, we talk about COVID-19, that global virus. We're talking about, what the government is doing, and that religion, that religion. And yet there is another movement, and that movement, it happens within us when we can use both our eyes. When we are able to see the spiritual world and the spiritual concept, then we are seeing the new world and the visionary concepts of that world. And we need to begin to, as the dreamer, as the revolutionary, as the visionary, as the light worker, as the spiritual person, we, whatever title you take, spiritual warrior, all those things, we, as that identification, we need to be able to navigate that new world. And this is the age of Aquarius. This is the age of the dreamers, of the visionaries, of the imagination, of the creatives, of the creative intuitives, of the musicians and the artists, and the people that that see things from an abstract perspective. We have been in the logical, black and white, physical world for a long time, and there is a awakening, let's say, of the spirit, because it is a spiritual world. Our future world is a spiritual world. So we need the foundational principles, we need the awareness, we need the connection at a global level of heart energy, the collective heart and the collective consciousness, to become one, okay? And, we talk about one world religion and, and that, let that one world religion be the one world of spirit. When we are one, we are a metaphor. As the people, we are a metaphor. We are a symbol of the body and the heart. Okay. And the hand can't say to the foot, I don't need you. This is a house divided against itself will not stand. We are looking for the strong house. Okay, we are looking for the spiritual people. We are looking for the spiritual leaders that will arise out of the people. We are looking for the directive that has within it a spiritual vision of the future generations, of the preservation of Earth. When we get our house in order, then we begin to move towards the establishment of systems and structures that promote life. Okay? Life of what? Life of spirit, because spirit is in all things. It is in all things. It is in the earth. It is in us. And it is in what we create. And we need to learn and become aware about the soul transmission and the soul energy. How are we turning up? Well, what is the energy of our soul? Okay, if we are in a frantic place in the emotional underworld that is not centered, that is imbalanced, and we preoccupy ourselves with blaming everything and everyone, then we are in true avoidance of our own soul. Okay, whether it be dark or light. Okay, both have something to teach us, and there is purpose in everything. And I believe that these events that are happening in history, these events that are happening globally, are the trigger. And we can respond as the people. We can either respond from a triggered state of imbalance and of trying to control everything, or believing that having everything under some form of control is the answer. Control is not the answer. Awareness is the answer. And it is about acceptance. Are we fearing the fear? Let's accept that fear exists. Let's look at it, look at its energy, look at its consciousness. Let's understand the way that it works within our own system, so that we can come out of it. Come out of the fears and the illusions and the shadows. Okay, this is all learning. This is all perspective. This is all part of our training. And whatever projected reality shadow has cast upon you, it is a form of spell work. And we realize that actually, we are way more powerful than what we know, what we think. We are braver than what we think. We are wiser than what we think. Where does the wisdom, where does the bravery, where does the consciousness come from? It comes from understanding your own emotional underworld and the movements of shadow that are at work there. They are there for the evolution of your soul, And when you realize that everything that you have been through, in terms of your own personal darkness, you have been through those things because um, because they are the preparation, the energetic preparation for the aspects of light that you will come into, you know. You look back at your life and you look at all the things, the shitty things people said, the shitty things people did. um, when you were backed into a corner by a shadow that was being triggered in somebody else, and you were accused of certain things. Whatever happened to you along the road, it's okay. It's just a shadow. It's just a shadow. Okay. When we enter the higher mind, um, we can look at it and go, oh, yeah, it is. It's just a shadow. It's a shadow that came to teach me about my own imbalances and how to readjust to come more into a balanced state of self, of soul, of energy, of consciousness. Okay, it is the buffeting system. Okay, and we embrace both our shadow and our light. Okay, so does that mean we embrace what is happening with COVID-19? Or whatever it is? Well, I would say accept that it is part of the completion of all things. It is not the be all and end all. It is part of the completion of all things. Therefore, it has its purpose in its own um, some part of the story. you know there is no story in history that of the great that did not go first through the test. That is what it means to be the greatest, is to pass through the shadow and to pass through the test. We will not know what is beyond fear, let's say the land, the promised land, unless we are willing to go through it, to push past it, okay, to find the substance, the grit, the energy of who and what we truly are beyond the shadow. Okay, and that's when we enter our light. That is the rising of the light, because the light rises and falls. It rises and falls. It meets many challenges. Okay, and we come into the light. We come into the fulfillment and the completion of all things. Okay, and we need COVID-19 to kick us up the ass. We need it to wake us up. Otherwise, we would just sit on the sofa and put our feet up and just continue in a world that is not fueled by spirit and by passion and by energy and by all those things. We would not find those parts of ourselves unless they are first triggered. Okay, and we can be triggered down into shadow. We can choose to do that. Each to their own. Or we can be triggered into greater light, because with every trigger, there is a choice that must be made. We can choose, okay? And we can choose to be triggered. I'm going to be triggered into more of that light and more of that consciousness and more of that energy that I missed. That is the missed story that was being told all the way through under the surface, okay? It is the mystery of life, the missed story, okay? And we are finding the missing piece. We are finding the missing piece. Namaste.